Hello everyone and welcome to the Nexus interaction system tutorial and overview. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to get started, get set up, and then after that I'm going to show you what you can do straight out of the box and what to expect. So here is the interaction framework. I have a little demo level here. In order to get started, you're going to just find your player character. In this case I have my demo character, but you can add this to whatever character you're using. And you're simply going to go to the add components and type Nexus. And there's two components. I recommend adding both, but you only really need to add one, and that is the Nexus interaction. Input detection is optional. Basically, input detection, all it does, I'll show you the code for it. My apologies, I'm not in it right now. Edit, there we go. It sets whether you're on a keyboard or gamepad, and it handles the logic and calls dispatchers appropriately. It's incredibly lightweight, will not change your performance, nothing's on tick. And essentially it just allows you to switch between console and PC prompts. So if gamepad support is something that you're interested in, I heavily recommend adding it. I really see no reason not to, but I made it optional just in case anyone feels strongly about it. Next step, you're pretty much just going to go ahead and initialize your component. So off of begin play, you're going to go ahead and call init Nexus interaction. Just going to call your VPC Nexus interaction component. What you're going to pass through it is going to be a camera component, as well as your character, and optionally again that input detection. And then other than that, you're just going to hook up your action. So how are you planning to interact? In this case, I have the E button and the gamepad left base button, which is on an Xbox controller, the X button. And it's pretty simple. Is holding is optional. You do not need to do that. You could be as simple as just plugging pressed into Fire Interact and call it a day. But if you want to support holding interactions, you'll also just want to go ahead and call holding and set it true on pressed, and call holding and set it false on release. And that is all you have to do. While you're at it, inside of input interaction in the component itself, you could go ahead and change things like trace distance, start buffer. What the start buffer is going to be how many Unreal units ahead of the camera you want to begin the trace. This is to prevent things like, let's say, the trace hitting your own character's hands or anything like that, if this is a concern with you. Or also, if it's a third-person shooter, you don't want to start the trace behind the character, as that would be illogical, so you would put the buffer ideally far enough to where the line trace begins at the front of your character. The trace radius, so this is just kind of like how much buffer space you kind of want to give it. I think 10 is a nice sweet spot, so I made it default, but you can go ahead and play with that. Again, it just makes the trace radius a little thicker. In between trace times, so this event does not run on tick, it actually runs on a cycled loop. So this delay is between each time you fire a trace. I think 0.5 is a good amount, but if you want it faster or slower, you can just go ahead and raise or lower that number as much as you want. If you were to have it at like 0 delay, it would be basically the exact same as an event tick. So it's not really the end of the world at which you have this as. But you know, I think I recommend 5.5. Interaction display style. So you have two options: on-screen space and in-world space. And so this will change actually the way that your prompts appear. If you do on-screen space, you will have all your prompts in the center of the screen. I want you to think games like maybe Halo or the Elder Scrolls, where like the press X to interact is like front and center of the screen. And then in-world space might be one of those more immersive horror games or walking sims where the press E to interact, let's say on a door, is directly on top of the doorknob, and as you move the door, the prompt follows the doorknob instead of your screen center. So this just comes down to personal preference. I'm doing in-world space right now, but you could do really whichever way. And then the last thing is just interaction effect. You could choose no effect, or you could choose object outline. And so object outline gives you that little highlight, but if you want something more immersive, you could just select no effect and it will just disable the highlight. And so this is just pretty much some simple little parameters you can play with. It's nothing too fancy. If you do have a object outline and you're on 5.0, just make sure that you're going ahead and you're going over here to your post-processing and you're adding the material post-process. You could find that in the materials outline. It's any of these. I have a white, yellow, red, green, and a standard parent one. Inside of this framework, we have a handful of default actors that I went ahead and made. If you want to add your own interactables, which I imagine you do, and you're creating a new one, all you have to do is simply go over to your BP interactable object parent, create a child blueprint class, and that would just be like your door or whatever you're trying to make. If you already have the interactable object existing, all you have to simply do is go into the class settings and make sure your parent blueprint is the BP interactable object, and everything should be kind of working out of the box. For your interactions, how you set it up, I have a door as an example here. All you're going to want to do is make sure you have event on interacted right there. You're going to want to call it, and then you're just going to play whatever logic you want for your interaction event. In this door case, I have a timeline, and I change the door's rotation, open and close the door. Pretty simple. I also go ahead and I change the prompt text because I wanted to. And again, this all comes down to your preference. Again, another example would be this lantern. This lantern on interaction, I spawn my particle effects. So particle effects, sound effect, and I just set interactable to false. And so how these both look in engine here is, if I were to go over here to a light and hit E, it will spawn the particle effect, and you'll notice that I no longer can interact. There's no double interaction with something. So this box is pretty simple. I press E and it just deletes itself. And this door allows me to press E. You can see it says open, close, open, close. So again, pretty simple. You could also play around with the parameters. If I click on this box, let's say, up here is where you would customize everything. So you would have your prompt message to pick up. You would have your keys, keyboard and console keys. So I have press E and press X. And your hold duration. If you set this as 0, the prefix text to this will be press E to pick up. And if you set it as 10, then it will say hold E to pick up. So there's also the text kind of adapts to the behavior that you're looking for. So you do not have to worry about accidentally having a press E on a hold event or a hold on a press event. It's all automatic. And I guess just to show it, I'm going to set this one specifically as 0. This is the middle one. These other two are at different params. This is at 30 and this is at 20, so those are very much hold. You'll also notice with things like this door here. Actually, I won't get ahead of myself. Let's just show that there's different effects here. So as you can see, it says pressy, and as you can see, it says holdy. So if I were to hold this, it collects. If I were to press it, it collects. And again, this is all at different rates. And again, if I were to go over here and just change this to 10 and hit play, you can see that now it says holdy. So again, it's kind of just automatic. You don't have to worry about it too much. It's pretty nice. Now going on to these doors. Again, same parameters, same logic. The addition of a open and closed door prompt for the different states. Also, one thing you might have noticed, I forgot to cover it, there's modifiers, is interactable and unavailable message. Ideally, I keep my interactables interactable. That's how I like it. But let's say you want to block something. This door is interactable. As you notice over here, this door has all the prompts. Change the text to heavy door, so we have it as hold. So I wanted to make it a bit different. But I also set is interactable to false with an unavailable message. Fix the power unit, kind of like a quest giver, a little hint as to what you might need to do. think maybe Dark Souls is classic, door opens on the other side type of idea. You could very much implement things like that. So you might also notice there's this door. If I go over here, we'll see that it has all the standards, but I also checked is interactable as false. But unlike the other one, I do not give a hint. So let's take a look at what a non-hint versus a hint looks like. Go over here, launch. You'll notice that this door is just completely uninteractable, and there's no hint whatsoever. And there's no highlight. It doesn't even look like it's interactable. And then if I were to go over here, this one, it's going to tell me fix the power unit. And that's going to sit right over the doorknob where I have the interaction at. And then if I were to go over here, hold E to fix, and then go back, you'll notice that now it says hold E to heavy door. So what we did there is we changed the state and it updated automatically. So you could have unavailable messages. This is completely network replicated. It's ready for online. I've checked edge cases, like what if a player's looking at a door while it's deactivated and then someone else activates it while the other player's looking. This is all accounted for. It's all updated in real time, using mainly event dispatchers. So it's not really much of a concern, or not a concern at all. It just kind of, quote Todd Howard, it just works. And I guess to show off that real quick, I'd like to shrink this down for a bit. So I want to show two windows at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead over here and look, fix the power unit. I'm going to hit, maybe, my apologies. These are so janky. I'm going to go over here with this one, fix power unit, F8. Over here, while he's looking at fix power unit, I'm going to go ahead and fix the power unit, fix the door. And you'll notice that on the right hand side here, it now says hold E to open heavy door. So again, just kind of reiterating my point, this is very multiplayer friendly out of the box, with no additional lift. If you change the is interactable, it should work across the board. If you change the unavailable message, it will work across the board. If you change the text prompt, it will work across the board. So if someone opens the door, they're not going to see an open door that's telling you to press E to open a door. It's going to tell the user to close the door, no matter which client side they're on. I don't think that's really a great selling point. I think it's just like, hey, here's the basics. But if there's something that you're worried about, this package is probably the package for you. I would say. So that's pretty much it. Again, whenever you build an object, just call event uninteracted. Handle your interaction function the way you want it, and then you have all these parameters here. And again, if you want to customize the player, the way that works, their reach and all of that, it's found here. If you want them to have a higher trace distance, go ahead and increase that. Buffer, world space or on screen space, all of this right here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching the tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed the product.